because if you've ever taken a look at a GDS and you see all these cryptic formats,
Yeah.
a lot of times that scares people. They're like, huh? What's going on here? But when you take a travel consultant or a TCT out to TripSource, they're like, oh, this makes sense. This is internet-based. I know what I'm doing now.
This is real life.
I'm Chika Eloy, and this is a conversation designed for BCD people with BCD people. On this show, we're running through the diverse cultures of talent at BCD Travel, and we're showcasing our most confident self-colleagues. So come on, let's go have some fun as we explore the different functions, spaces, faces, and the complexities across our world of BCD.
Well, I hope that you pulled up a bucket of popcorn because this week's episode is going to be a sensational one. We are talking about what BCD is doing to harness the future of the travel consultant. So if you don't work as a travel consultant, or even if you do, this program is going to be of interest to you. And I would love to welcome to the podcast Kiley Ottaviani.
Thank you.
And it is a pleasure to have you on because today we're going to be speaking about a unique topic. But before we get there, I know that there's plenty of guests who have now probably seen your photo on the front cover of this podcast and want to know, who is the Kiley? So why don't you just give us the background? Who are you, Kiley? And where do you sit right now?
I love it that you call me the Kiley because not too many people can pronounce my last name. So
Ottaviani, right?
I am the Kiley.
The Kiley. The Kiley O.
Yeah. So I actually am a virtual employee. I sit in Newcastle, Pennsylvania. It's about 65 miles northwest of Pittsburgh. And that was actually my home office for many, many years until I joined the training team about 9 years ago when I went virtual.
Very cool. And have you been in the same role? What role are you in? What organization are you with at BCD?
So I'm with our Learning Solutions team. It's under Performance Solutions. So we have a couple of different umbrellas. We have our Account Management Solutions, we have Process Solutions, and then we have our Learning Solutions team that goes out and does all types of different implementations, recurrent training, and of course our TCT program that we're going to talk about today.
So, Kiley, let's not mess about. The reason we're here today is to talk about the TCT program. Can you start us? What is the TCT program? I believe that this is just in America we're doing this, but it is definitely attracting and developing our new talent at the agent level, correct? Correct.
Yeah, so our TCT program started actually 8 years ago. It was called TCI at that time. It was an internship program. And we take our new students, our new trainees, they could have customer service backgrounds. Some may have been in the business a while ago or trying to get back in. Some of them are straight out of high school.
Wow.
And we take them through, a 10-week course where they learn everything BCD. So
and what does TCT stand for?
It's the Travel Consultant Training Program.
Okay. So this is literally ground level, the best folks in our organization, the people that are in the trenches doing the work with our clients, correct?
Absolutely. Yep.
Great. So go ahead. Take us through what you would consider the program to look like from start to finish.
So they go through the hiring process with our recruiting team. Then they begin their journey with one of our TCT trainers. It's 6 weeks of classroom, so it's 7-hour days. Yes. Wow. 7-hour days. They're learning everything about the GDS, air, car, hotel, ground, all of our different tools. They're tested weekly. And then once they complete the 6 weeks training program, they move into what we consider a controlled environment with one of our clients or a couple.
Oh, wow.
Where we start to take phone calls in a very live environment, but myself or one of the other trainers are still there to run around and help them out and make sure that everything's done and finished and good to go on their end.
Wow, Kiley. So if I could back up for just a second. So here I am just visualizing. Let's pretend we're in Atlanta or we're in Portland or we're in... Is Portland a center of excellence too?
So Atlanta, Pittsburgh, and Boise are the
Boise.
center
Okay.
learners.
Okay, great. So if I'm one of them, let's pretend there's 30 new recruits that you brought in with some background. They've been hired. They've now been told that they got to turn up day after day for 6 straight weeks, 7-hour days, where you're teaching them the codes, the way that the operations. Are you teaching customer service as well?
Yes. Yeah, they go through customer service training as well. Yep.
Wow. And then when I come out of that 6 weeks of theory that you tested me on, I then have to sit with kind of you over my shoulder as my guide to take real life calls with real life clients with real life consequences.
Absolutely.
Oh,
Yep.
no pressure at all.
None on them and none on us. I think the first couple of days of controlled environment, the trainer's just as nervous as the trainee because we want them to be successful and, everybody's nervous. I still remember, my first phone call where I was like, oh, there's a real person on this line.
Wow. So you said that we're doing it in Atlanta, in Boise, and in Pittsburgh. So are we running 3 different classes consecutively? Maybe talk to us over the course of 12 months. How many classes are going through? How many graduates are we having, et cetera, in your understanding?
So yeah, we actually, in the Center of Learnings, we typically have 3 to 4 classes a year. Class size is around 16. Typically, we graduate, if we start with 16, we may graduate between 11 or 12. Some folks decide, well, this might not be for me, or, it's just not for everyone. So we do that in the Center of Learnings. And then we have other offices like Dallas, Kansas City, the Mississauga office, where they may support the program, maybe once or twice throughout the year so that we can bring new people in through those offices as well.
And when you come out as a graduate, is it typically that I go into an office for a certain period of time? Do I immediately go virtual? Does that work?
So the expectation is that you are in an office for at least a year, so that you have people around you, you have somebody that you can ask a question, and then after that year you are able to apply for virtual employment as well. We've had a few just due to hours of their clients and the center they were in that went virtual a little earlier, but typically it's about a year.
Interesting. And so Kiley, being a trainer, what's some of the hardest, or maybe the highlights and the hardest stuff that you have to deal with from a training perspective when you've got these new moldable minds walking in?
Hardest thing is probably just different personalities and different backgrounds. If you have, somebody that's brand new, straight out of high school, maybe, just worked at Subway for a little period of time, and then you have somebody that, is an ex-airline employee. Their entire way of thinking is a little bit different. So you definitely have different training styles, you have different backgrounds that you're working with. So sometimes that can be a little hard to make sure that you're keeping everyone involved. And for the ex-airline employee, okay, maybe this is a little boring right now, but not everybody is up to that level. So that can be a little hard sometimes. Most rewarding is, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, in terms of the cohort that's going through, so if you have 10 to 16 people, do they kind of graduate feeling like a family, like a team, or is this purely just individually groomed?
It's truly a team. Yeah, if you ask most of the graduates, they're a team. I'm actually meeting with one of my first groups that graduated 8 years ago, and we're all doing dinner tomorrow
that's
night.
Great.
So it's a family, and we kind of stay like that. I have very good relationships with my past graduates. Love when they call me and they're like, Kiley, I'm applying for this new position, or I just got a lead position, or I got hired as a supervisor. So
wow.
Getting to watch them grow within the organization is the best part of my job.
And maybe if I could ask you to expand on that just a second, when you've got these travel consultant trainees coming in, when they graduate, are they still a trainee? And then how long? Could you run us through what is a potential career path for some of these next level talents?
Sure. So typically, once they graduate the program, they are moved into a travel consultant position. So they're no longer a trainee; they're a travel consultant one. And that's where the year comes about. They really want to stay in that role for a year, get the travel piece, get the consultant piece under their belt before they would move on to another position, because it's really the starting ground. Once you have that mastered, you can move on to all different types of positions within our company. And I've had some that have stayed in operations, where they love being a consultant, they love working with the traveler day in and day out, so that's what they love. I've had others that have decided, well, I want to move, into a lead position or operations supervisor. I've had a few other ones that decided, I really like the account management piece, so I want to become an account coordinator and move up in that way. So, really, it's just the foundation our program is, and then it's a building block, and then they can move to really any position within BCD Travel.
That's very valuable to know. And for especially somebody like myself that does not deal on the operational level, that's mind-opening as well. Kiley, you said that this program has been around for a number of years, and we're currently in the middle as a company, thinking and using the words digital transformation. In your opinion, from when you started with this program, whenever you started to now, what are some of the transformation pieces that you've seen developing as you stand in front of them and have to train? Because of the GDS systems the same? Are they the exact same as they were 10, 15 years ago? Or is all of that type of stuff changing too as we train our agents?
All of that stuff is training. The GDS has, we've come across, some differences. We started training on Turbo Sabre, and then we looked to, move back to Native Sabre. We started training on Apollo, and now we're moving to SmartPoint, which is more kind of like a overlay, more of a point-and-click database. But I'd say the big differences are really moving towards like trip source and agent source, to where it's not completely in the GDS. They're actually going out to some of these different tools, which are super helpful, because if you've ever taken a look at a GDS and you see all these cryptic formats, a lot of times that scares people. They're like, huh? What's going on here? But when you take a travel consultant or a TCT out to TripSource, they're like, oh, this makes sense. This is internet-based. I know what I'm doing now.
This is real life. My goodness. And shout out to all of the source teams that are helping pull together those great tools. And anything else that you've noticed in terms of your years of training around these travel consultants? Anything that's shifting outside of mindsets and them being excited about new tools?
No, I think the mindset of the TCT program being really our benchmark, our starting point for bringing new people into the business. For so many years there were travel schools, and but a lot of those aren't in existence anymore. So we really have to gear up and focus on our travel consultant training program to be able to sustain our workforce and grow as a company.
What is the end goal here? Are we looking at keeping this at 10? Are we trying to increase this to bigger classes? Is there an end goal for your teams and the strategy behind this program?
I wouldn't say there's an end goal. I think that, continuing to grow, with our company, making sure that we're staying on top of all the changes and all the updates. But I really wouldn't say that there's a huge end goal there. Okay.
And for our listeners, let's pretend that I have a family member or a neighbor or somebody that I would love to recommend to explore applying for a TCT program. What's some of the skill sets or the competencies or the tenacities I need to make sure that they would be a good fit?
Yeah, so we look at a customer service background. My philosophy is I can teach somebody the GDS, I can teach them the tools, but I really can't teach them to be a good person. So we look at them, from that perspective, how they, if they have customer service background, graduated high school, if they have any experience with either travel, booking travel via the internet, those types of things.
That's awesome, Kiley.
So really the thing that hits home for me, and I use it in every single graduation program. It's a quote from one of my favorite songs, is that when you get to where you're going in life, you should turn back around and help the next man in line. And that's what that program means to me. I started out years ago, right out of travel school. I didn't know much, and I have moved up within the company, and now, that program is my way of helping, give back to the next generation, sharing my knowledge, and growing my family, because that's what our program is, and that's what our company is. So that's what it means to me.
I think that's a very good comment there, Kiley, and I think that if every listener right now just took a second to stop and look behind them, I'm sure that anyone could contribute just one thing a week to somebody else that is not necessarily below or next to or above, but just giving back and continuing to serve each other. We're only going to move ourselves forward. So thanks for sharing that. Are you ready for your 5 questions that we wrap up each podcast with?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, Kiley. So here is your question number 1. What was the last thing that you dressed up as a fancy dress party?
Fancy dress party, uh-oh.
Halloween.
I wore tennis shoes underneath my wedding dress.
Really? That works. Hey, that works. Question number 2, Kiley. Do you prefer green or red grapes, and why?
I'm a green grape person. I just like the flavoring a little bit more.
And what do you prefer? Question number 3. What's the number 1 thing you would put on a slice of toast right now?
Oh, jelly. Blackberry jelly.
Blackberry jelly, not strawberry jam, blackberry jelly. And I'm going to move away from food for question number 4. You're in a hotel. Do you prefer a bar of soap or that liquid soap that you squeeze from that container that's in the shower already?
Oh, no, bar of soap. That liquid soap gets slippery.
Kiley, we've appreciated having you here on the podcast. And the final question we wrap up every episode with: if it wasn't the people, what do you love most about BCD?
Oh, the people is the number one, but I think the growth, the ability to move up within the company is what I like the most, because as you can tell from my background or from the TCT program, we're all about supporting our groups, our trainees, our employees. So I think the growth would be the second part that I love the most.
You are either green and growing or ripe and rotting. That's what we say in our training program. Kiley, it's been a pleasure having you on. Thank you so much for being part of the world of BCD.
Sure, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
And to all of our listeners, that is just the America's version of a traineeship that we run. And please know that we do it globally at a number of different other regions as well. So we will hopefully be able to highlight those programs in the future. But for now, have a great week, and we will see you next week on A World of BCD.